Hello, friend. Welcome, everyone, to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Mr. Robot Season 4, Episode 1. And interestingly, the title of the episode is very different
I
from.
remember them talking about this a while back, actually.
Very different. The episode title is 401 Unauthorized. And if you recall, the reason why that's weird is because seasons 1, 2, and 3 all had episode titles that were representing file names of different computer files and looked kind of atrocious to read as a result. I was kind of gobsmacked when I glanced at the title of this one when I went to play it, and it just looked like a regular word, and I could read it.
Yeah, they've because obviously the gimmick before was every episode had a different file format at the end. I think they just ran out of all the main ones now, so they've switched to error codes by the look of it.
Yes. They ran out of all the main ones in season 1. Season 2 and 3 were a bunch of weird things I'd never heard of.
Yeah, okay, true.
But yeah, so yes, Mr. Robot's back, baby. The final season, 13 episodes this year, and then we're going to be done. The entire thing, barring a scene or two, is set over a Christmas period, 2015, where the entire show's been set in 2015. This is,
Yeah.
So, we have 13 episodes. Should be ending around Christmas. It'll actually end around that time of the year. Yeah, I was curious as to where we'd start with this, and I was curious to see what the focus was going to be, because season 3 had this big bombastic ending, and it had Elliot making this kind of like pact with Mr. Robot to like actually take White Rose down, take the Dark Army down, and this episode does some ballsy things, and I think it's maybe not as strong as the season 3 opener, because the season 3 opener was probably the best season opener that, well, maybe not counting the pilot, I suppose, because the pilot was really good, but like the season 3 opener was especially fantastic, and I think this episode is really solid, it's really great, but it has one or two scenes that really stick out as being notable and being kind of intriguing as to what they're doing this year. And where better place to start than at the end of the previously on, where it does the what I'll call the Lost season 4 finale trick, where the end of the previously on was a scene from the
just carries on running.
The end of the previously on was a scene from the end of season 3. Because if you're unfamiliar with Lost, the structure was that it'd have flashbacks and stuff like that. So it cut back to like a flashback or whatever from the end of season 3's, and the opening scene just continued on from the scene in the flashback from the previously on. This did this here, where you have the scene with Angela and Price at his house, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember this scene, and I thought, oh, this is interesting, and letting this really play out, not chopping it up like they did the rest of the scenes, and then it just kept going, and it went into new material.
Oh, that's why.
So, so the scene keeps going, and Angela, of course, is dealing with what's happened. She feels to blame for the deaths. She's like, oh, White Rose's device was going to bring my mum back, yada yada yada. That was the stuff from before. That was already there last season.
And Philip's like, no, it was all just because of me. It was to get back at me. You were kind of nothing.
And Angela, she's, what are you going to do? And this is, and I'll be honest, like, I'd have to go back and watch the finale of season 3 again to tell you the exact moment that it kept going.
Yeah, me too. There's just a moment where you realize, hang on, this is new now.
But she wants retribution, because she asks, like, what are you going to do about White Rose? And he's like, what do you mean? And she's like, I want in. I know her device is real, and she still sounds a little bit crazy, but she's like, but I know how to take it from her. And that's when his demeanor completely changes to, shut up, like, and you kind of like immediately get that he's scared for her. Now
you get an inkling already.
But it's actually the moment. It's the moment she says to him, "No, I'm not going to back down and forget about this.
There's nothing you can say or do to change my mind.
There's nothing you can say or do to stop me." And it's as soon as she finishes that sentence, you hear a car door. It's as soon as she finishes that sentence, you hear a car door, and then his demeanor, he's like, "I wish you hadn't said that." And
you just they're watching.
And he starts begging. He starts begging for her to repent, and beg for forgiveness, and promise that you won't. And I think what's interesting about the rest of this scene is obviously it's this weird kind of handoff where we got a lot of Price last year, and even in season 2 we got a lot of Price, but he's become more of a main character throughout those seasons, and I think this scene, in a lot of ways, given where it goes, kind of like hands off to him as being another, like, I feel like this season Price is going to be one of the main characters.
I agree, because it literally kind of shifts focus onto him, and we just follow him, and we stay on, on him for all of the rest of the scene after a point.
Yeah, but obviously for Angela, she knows what's coming because she hears the car door. She knows they're being watched. She knows they're there, and she still says, "No, I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to repent. I'm not going to even like fight or to hide or run or anything like that." Angela, makes this choice to go out on her own terms. So yeah, the opening scene of season 4, allegedly, I'm saying that because I'm not necessarily sure there's not going to be a swerve, but allegedly kills Angela.
I mean, I would say it definitely kills her. There is a distinct gunshot to the back of the head.
Mm-hmm.
She is unequivocally dead in this moment. In this moment.
Okay.
I'm not saying, okay, there's not shenanigans that could happen, but I'm fairly sure, yes, she died there.
Wait, so if you think there could be shenanigans, how can there be shenanigans if you're just saying she's definitively dead at this moment?
Well, I mean, one, she could be revived, be resuscitated, maybe. I don't know, but I'm saying she died there and then, and I don't know the specifics. And then, of course, we have there's the.
Could you please explain to me how you get resuscitated from a gunshot to the front of the forehead?
I don't know. Well, it's back of the head, surely. But I mean, semantics. I don't know. I don't know medicine. I'm no doctor. I'm just saying.
A hole all the way through the brain is not resuscitationable. Resuscitable. I don't know. No. Like, I mean, no. I'm not saying I think she's not dead here. I'm saying if there's going to be a swerve, I don't think she can be definitively dead in this scene and also have a swerve.
I do. Depending on what the swerve may be, I think it was all last season we were speculating. I mean, even when we get a nice reminder here where Angela talks about, she was gonna, we were gonna be with my mum again, and we were speculating a lot about some potential time travel shenanigans.
Yeah, but are you actually thinking we're going down that path? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't. But I'm saying I'm not convinced because it's still just there in the back of my mind throughout the episode. But I'm not convinced of it. That's the problem. But I'm leaving it open as a possibility. In that way, she could have been dead here and still have shenanigans later.
There's a photo of her later with a hole in the front of her head.
Yes, there is. I'm not disputing that.
Okay. Oh, jeez.
I'm just leaving the time travel drawer open a crack. That's all.
Just a crack. All right.
Or possibly some sort of cloning.
Okay. All right. So this episode, this scene, and what I think is fascinating to me about the character dynamics of this scene is that Angela accepts what's happening, and she'd rather just face it, and not like basically betray her character or betray who she is and betray what she believes in right now by pretending to beg or by pretending to, I won't speak to anyone. She doesn't do any of that. She goes out strong as a character. She goes out, she maybe dies, sure, and there's obviously a very tragic scene. It's really well handled. I felt really tense as Philip's walking away and you see the two guys come out of frame and walk past him, and you go up to him and shoot her in the head and then double tap her. Like, all that stuff is great. But what I think is interesting from this scene is, since we are shifting to Philip, is that I think one of the driving forces for Philip throughout this season is going to be the fact that he isn't a man of integrity or someone who sticks up for himself. He is someone who is a shriveling little wimp who's begging White Rose for forgiveness, who is scared of White Rose. And I think a big part of the story for this season for him is going to be wanting to honor Angela, and the fact that Angela, even at this moment where she knew she was going to die, did not betray how she felt, regardless of how crazy she may or may not have been about what she believed. Like, she was not willing to give in and betray her.
You think Philip kind of becomes a hero in a sense?
A hero's a strong. I don't know if I want to say hero, but just that he doesn't alter what he believes or who he is for White Rose, because he may still be evil, he may still be bad, but he
No,
will not alter or pretend to be anything else just to, make
just to
White
try
Rose
and stay
happy.
alive a little bit longer.
Yes.
Yeah,
Does that mean he ends up essentially doing something heroic? Possibly, but I'm not necessarily jumping to that path. I'm just saying that I think it's important to him, especially since he's probably going to want revenge for Angela,
probably.
since he does
Yeah.
seem to very much care. So
Well, I mean, that was his driving motivation for at least last season. Was, hey, you leave my daughter out of this.
pretty
I'll do
much,
whatever you want.
and when we follow him into the house, White Rose is on the phone, um, and is like, she made her choice, blah blah blah, and Price is angry. He's like, no, you recruited her, you put her in this position, you sort of led her in this path until she really had no choice. And a lot of filmmaking touch here I really liked is that White Rose says something like it's not something really uncaring about it, and Price responds with, "She was my daughter." But what I like about the filmmaking touch here is, during this conversation, Price is smashing a vase, and he's screaming at him, and we stay in Price the entire time, but we cut to White Rose, where White Rose is, just before he says she was my daughter. So to emulate the fact that White Rose doesn't give a shit that this is his daughter, that this personal idea of attachment, we cut to his side or her side of the conversation, where we can just hear it muffled through the phone sound effect. It's going through that
Yeah,
filter.
it's like, we don't care either.
Yeah. So it feels really cold. It feels really cold that for the moment, the most heartbreaking moment where he's going to say, "No, she was my daughter, damn it!" Like, we don't hear that properly. We hear it through this filter. And White Rose is like, "Sorry for your loss," and just hangs up, and that's it. So that was just a nice touch from the filmmaking to when to cut and how to use the audio to kind of give it this effect.
Yeah, I agree.
And White Rose's helper is like, "Oh, that Elliot," because this is still set right at the end of season 3. That Elliot, he's hacked for the shipping stuff, has went through and blah 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 blah.
This could be a problem.
But we have to because White Rose, no, we won't kill him. Maybe once the shipment's complete and the device is in the Congo, then we'll kill him. And that, how long is that going to take? Oh, that'll be right around Christmas, which is so we transition to Christmas period, after this. But nice big shot going past the head and over the ocean, and then it kind of goes to New York at Christmas, and
Credits come up.
Yeah, as it's looking around at various Christmas trees and so on and so on. So. And Christmas is actually really cool. I'll get to that in a later scene, why Christmas is actually a really fun setting for what they're doing thematically. But yeah, so she's like, "Oh, we have to deal with that Elliot Alderson. He's a plague," or whatever she says. And White Rose says, "Send him a reminder then of what's at stake should he do anything that we don't want." And later on, we find out they sent a photo to him of Angela. I have to assume that's what they're talking about in this scene.
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's open for them to surprise us with it being something else, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's that. And so after the opening credits, we get Jake Busey. We get a Busey in the show.
Everything's better with a Busey.
Everything's better. He was in season 3 of Stranger Things and season 4 Mr. Robot. This man is getting around, doing some good work.
He's hitting the classics.
Yeah. What I thought was interesting about this scene actually is this entire segment, which is a good 15 minutes or whatever,
is that long?
Yeah, for the moment we meet Jake Busey till his demise, it's a good, because see, by the time that we get to the end of the scene where he's killed himself on the street, we're basically almost at the 30-minute mark of the hour-long episode.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's a long time. So yeah, so we may have this whole thing though. It very much felt like season 1 started this way of
the
Elliot
scene,
using a sex offender's records to kind of and
it felt back to basics.
Yeah, it felt like he was using what he knows to sort of do what he does. But also because it's the final season, it just has this kind of nice callback to the start of the story kind of element to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he gets some Christmas party and he shows him this video. He's got a Skype call that he did with a kid, and it's all very incriminating. And he wants him to use this USB stick. He wants him to go to Grand Central. So he can use all the emails in his inbox and look at stuff and yada yada yada. And he's freaking out. Obviously, the filmmaking's great. There's a nice transition when he gets into this cab to go to Grand Central. It's almost like it goes to the equivalent of a loading screen in a video game, but it's like the news report playing.
Yeah, okay.
Because it made me think of like Mass Effect in the elevator where you're just waiting and then you come out and you're at the new place.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the scene, it comes back out from the TV in the back of the cab, and then he's at Grand Central. Get out of the car. We're here.
Yeah.
Um, but we find out the economy's booming because Elliot undid the hack. 9-5's been erased, and Tyrell's been seen as a hero.
Everything's looking up right now.
Yeah, he's right. He's the public face of E-Corp, and everyone's like, "Nah, Christmas is great. Everyone go buy presents because we're not in financial ruin anymore." And yada yada.
Seems as good a reason as any to celebrate Christmas, I guess.
No,
wish we'll be able to say the same.
Yeah. Well, what I like about it is that it's really using Christmas as this idea of like people ignoring everything that's wrong and just sort of like burying their heads in something happy.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a critique, but it's definitely this idea of once that all goes away.
Well, that's very much the Christmas to New Year period is very much this kind of hazy, just no one really sure what's going on. No one's really paying attention to anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets to like the 1st or 2nd of January. It's like, shit, it's a new year now. Got to get back to reality. So I'm kind of feeling like, okay, we'll probably get towards that at the end of the season. As we go through the Christmas period, we'll hit that reality at the end.
So, yeah, so we're at Grand Central. Obviously, there's a lot of sort of thriller stuff here where he's on the phone talking to Mr. Robot, which is
felt like I was watching Homecoming.
A little bit, actually. Notably here, up until this point, everything's been Mr. Robot, not Elliot. It's been Mr. Robot on the phone. It's been Mr. Robot talking to him. There's a little bit where he's been followed by Dark Army, and notably Freddy here, Busey's character. As soon as he hears that phrase, he knows what it means, and he's terrified. Like he's terrified that this is who's after him. And they did a little trick where they kind of distract him for a minute because he makes it look like he drops like a note and like a busker's, guitar case.
Yeah, so you took your money in and they go rifling through, and that keeps them busy for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, just enough.
Then we get them to the train where Elliot's waiting, and this is where we see. And there's a nice audio transition here between the voices because it goes from Christian Slater to Malek. But what I did notice is when he's looking through all this stuff, he's looking for the Trojan horse, which turns out to be where White Rose keeps the money, which is the bank that's used, Cyprus National.
Makes sense to strike at the heart of the capitalist.
Yeah, it does. What's interesting though, so there's a thing set up here where he's asking Freddy for more information, and Freddy says, "Oh, maybe I have a contact in the city. That's John Garson." And what I noted here, especially because I watched this twice, is the second time, knowing where it goes later on, is really paying attention to Busey's face before he makes that suggestion. Is actually very telling. It's like, oh yeah, it's just like, no, he's just thought of something sneaky to do. Like you can see it in his face.
Interesting.
But it's there. It's definitely there to find. So, what I think is interesting here, they find out that he's tracking him because he's got a Bluetooth like sort of badge on.
It felt actually genuinely unintentional, this one. Because Elliot's like, "Hey, I told you to leave all your electronics behind." And he's like, "Oh, I did." Never even crossed his mind to think of the pass.
Absolutely. What I liked about this is, they get outside, there's a bit of chase for a bit. What I liked though is that the moment that Freddy realizes that Elliot actually can't protect him, like Elliot loses all power. He loses all power in the conversation because he has nothing to offer him. Because Freddy realizes that after he's done whatever Elliot wants, he's probably just dead. Because Dark
He's dead anyway, so why bother?
Yeah, and we still had a gun on him because he tried to threaten Elliot, when he first got on the train. And he kills himself, and it's this, just like dark ending to the scene, and it feels
his last words are just like begging Elliot, just don't release the video to the family and kids or the FBI. Just let him go out as as a suicide. Let him think it's tragic that he killed himself, but not that he was quite that terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really trying to, and I think we'll get into sort of Elliot's mind a little bit the next time we see him, but this was definitely the first seed of like how Elliot's operating right now, and how kind of reckless and dangerous he's being. But we see Tyrell for one scene at E-Corp. He's just kind of, basically frustrated with how much PR bullshit he's having to do. He's like, can we push things? And the woman's like, no, you're all booked up for tomorrow too. But it re-emphasized this idea that she turns and says, "Oh, hey, I just want to say before I go that we all see you as a hero around here for fixing everything." Because of course he was made the face of all this, and
he's got a bit of a guilty conscience, I think.
Yeah, so not a lot of Tyrell in this episode, but curious to see where we go.
I'm sure we'll get some more as we go on in the season.
Who we do cut to though is Dom, who's staying at her mum's right now, and
She's
of
not in a
course,
great place.
I mean, she was left in a horrible place at the end of last season. You know, being
Yeah, yeah.
forced to basically, almost like we were just saying earlier on how Angela was able to keep her pride at the end and not compromise her character and go out sort of with honor, as it were. Dom was basically forced to give up her honor in a weird way.
She was broken. Yeah.
She was broken. Darlene put her in this corner where she had to betray her character. And we see her being very paranoid. And I noticed the filmmaking here specifically, there was a very close camera the whole time. And
it almost always focused on her, never looking away from her at what she was seeing.
But it was handheld and it was very close. And what I mean by that is obviously there's a lot of close-ups in movies and stuff, but I do actually mean specifically that this was not the camera's far back and it's zoomed in and it's like a a long angle or a long lens kind of moment. No, the camera you can there's a feel to it. It feels kind of in your face. There's
right in front of her. Yeah,
it feels different, and it had that feeling. But notably, because she's looking out the window and she's looking at license plates, she's nervous that anyone who drives up into the to the house is dark army coming to get her. Notably, the filming style completely changes the second because she gets out a gun, she hears someone in the house, and she goes down, and it turns out to be like a workman who's coming to do the bathroom, and the camera's shaking still the whole time. She's got the gun on him, and it's the moment her mum walks on the scene, almost to point out how sort of ludicrous she's being. The camera completely shifts to being a completely static, simple,
very standard TV
shooting style. Yeah. It still has some of that Esmail headroom. Don't get me wrong.
Oh sure, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any shots in this that don't.
Yeah, but it's like it starkly changes to really simple, and it's almost to point out as soon as the mum walks in the room just how silly she was being, how silly this felt.
No, this is a really mundane thing, and she's overreacting.
Yeah, so really, really good, really, really well shot. The shooting of that really told us a lot about how Dom's going. Obviously, the way she looks as well, and the way she's acting. But
is Esmail directing all of this again? I never checked.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
Did he direct all season 3?
I don't know if he did all of season 3.
I don't think he did. No, I think Homecoming is the only thing he's directed all of. But
I thought he did all of season 2 at least, but I could be wrong.
I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh no, wait, hold on. He may have directed all of season 2. If I remember correctly, because I remember him tweeting that he was crazy enough to direct the whole thing, but not write the whole thing himself. I think that was something he said at one point.
That sounds familiar.
Maybe he did do all of season 2. Yeah, maybe he did. I certainly all felt Esmail.
It did. I never actually checked.
Yeah. So then we go to Elliot's new base, which turns out to be all safe. Which again, it's kind of like harkening back to season 1. We're back in a season 1 kind of feeling place, and he's looking through things. Mr. Robot, of course, is there as well, and this is where it really kind of sets into what Elliot's mind is right now. He's being reckless. Mr. Robot says, okay, we should research this Garson guy as we do everyone and make sure we know who he is, what he's up to. And the funny thing is, when it turns out to be a trap, if they had done some research to find out who he is, they probably would have quite quickly discovered that he's not real.
Yeah, but Elliot's like, no, we don't have time for this right now. We're on. It took us 2 weeks to get to Freddy, and we don't have that time right now, so we're just gonna have to risk it. Which again is something that he never would have done before. Remember, like Steel Mountain, how meticulous that was, and then this is we've just got to do it. There's a sense of desperation.
Yeah, and Mr. Robot raises, is this becoming too personal? Is this about saving the world like it was supposed to be, or is this? And this is the first time we hear it referenced in this new part of the timeline. Is this about what they did to Angela? And Ellie is very kind of angry and kind of explains, no, it's not. F my feelings. It's not about Angela. This is about everything. And this is where he talks about the Christmas season and how everyone's forgetting the 5-9. It's almost like, oh, everyone's back to normal. We can all buy presents now. Like, everyone's forgetting. Do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the speech in Batman Begins where Bruce talks about how people need dramatic examples to shake them out of apathy. It was kind of giving me kind of that vibe. Where it's like, no, we have to remind them because they're forgetting. And once they forget, like, White Rose can just go back to business as normal, and that's it. They just get away with everything. So I really like that. I like that as a sort of point out. And we're on page 2 of my notes.
Oh, there's that many notes, is there?
Damn right there is. At the end of the scene, though, of course, Darlene phones.
Yes,
and
she's sounding off her head, to put it mildly.
Yeah, and again, this was one of these things where the filming told us a lot. When she came into Elliot's apartment, because that's where we go to next, she is, and this is really notable in this case, is that because often, typically, when you've got a scene with two characters and you're cutting back and forth, or three or whatever, it doesn't matter how many, you have similar shots for all the characters. That was not true in this scene.
No.
All of Darlene's shots were not only handheld, but they were high angled looking down and felt very very intense, very kind of off kilter.
Oh, you know what? I usually, I'll butt in and suggest something.
Uh-huh.
I was gonna suggest off kilter. I thought, no, I'll wait. I'll let you get through it, and then you came up with it anyway.
Exactly. So trust me. Basically,
Well, I mean,
is the lesson.
I feel like that was so specific that usually you wouldn't have got to that exact thing.
Shut up. So she says she thinks she's seen Angela, right? And it's funny because her thinking she saw Angela is very reminiscent to Angela's delirious attitude after the attacks last season,
Yes.
right? It felt very similar to that to me. Something I loved here was the second she says that. The second she says that, Elliot rolls his eyes and just walks off frame, and as he does it, Mr. Robot walks in. It's
like this is your problem.
Yeah, there's just this great switch where he just doesn't want to hear this. He doesn't want to hear
it. This is my favorite moment of the episode, where he's just like, "Screw this, robot, you're taking it."
Yeah, and she thinks she saw Angela at this place, and she's like, they never found the body, which is knowable. That's an important detail in the context of this.
I mean, it is, but I mean, I imagine they have very good cleanup crews.
Probably, yeah. There's a reason why they probably didn't find the body, but I just, worth mentioning in case it's relevant later. But I do, I love, they kind of fight. Ellie gets very intense at one point. He kind of walks right into her face and backs her up against the wall, and is like, Angela is dead. Like, and it's almost like this is, this has broken him, and he's refusing to kind of like show his vulnerability. I think he's went through too much to really reveal it. And one of my favorite moments of the episode actually is coming up right after this. Darlene leaves, kind of pissed off, and Mr. Robot says, "Hey, why don't we just show the photograph that they sent us?" And there's a shot of Elliot as he's like getting stuff from his computer. He's like putting stuff in a bag, because they're going to go see this Garston's place, and he's looking over his shoulder. Right after Mr. Robot suggests this, so why don't we just show this photo? And he looks over his shoulder, and there's like a one-frame flash. And even though when you're watching the episode, and I've seen the screenshot afterwards just so I could look at it, but like when you're watching the episode, it's obviously too quick to really process it, but you know exactly what the photo was. It's beautiful because you know exactly that they just flashed the photo at you.
And do you know what I want to say as well is going back to how this season has taken all these cues from season one.
Mm-hmm.
Season one wore its Fight Club influence on its sleeve, right? It did all sorts of things that played with that influence. And this again, that was a Fight Club thing, wasn't it? Inserting things for one frame.
Yeah. And Mr. Robot improved the Fight Club ideas.
Hey, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying.
I'm just throwing it out there. Mr. Robot's better. But
it is, and I like Fight Club.
But my favourite part of this, though, isn't the photo flash itself. My favourite part of this is when it happens specifically, because he's looking over his shoulder after Mr. Robot says this, it flashes, and after it flashes, he sort of like says it would break her heart, and it's still the same shot. And what I love about that is that this is the one moment in the episode, barring maybe the ending when he's really freaking out, where it's kind of his true emotions kind of peeking out, where it kind of shows like
it's not just focus on the job, it's actually how he feels. And
but more specifically, what he's saying about Darlene is about himself. This broke his heart.
It is, yeah, and it's he's not wanting to process and deal with that. That's why he's throwing himself into just work.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm kind of expecting a swerve with Angela in some way somehow. I was actually half expecting her to walk into this shot and almost as a second Mr. Robot essentially at some point. Like it wouldn't shock me if they did something like that, but I think what's interesting about it is I think if you want to accuse of being fridged, and I think it's a conversation that we probably have to mention, is that I think what's interesting here is that she's not like her death is not just impacted one person; it's affected at least 3 major characters, right? Yeah. So that's important. We got Elliot, we got Darlene, and then later we'll talk about Price a bit more. But the other thing that I think is interesting about it is that I think the only reason why it might feel that way, if you're not, giving it the sort of the credit that it's maybe deserved, is let me pose this question to you. If the scene we got at the start of this episode had just been at the end somewhere in the finale of last season, because it's basically a scene from last season, right?
It just continues. Yeah, okay, I know where you're going with this.
Right? Had it been there, would it have just felt like a nice natural end to her story that season? Tragic, sure, but a natural end to what the story was for her that season.
I think absolutely yes, which is why, I don't think it comes across as fridging
Yeah,
at all
I agree.
because
The only thing that makes this shocking, and don't get me wrong, I was shocked they killed Angela in the opening scene.
Do you know what? I know,
but
like
the
before
only
this aired, Esmail was like, "Hey guys, if you can watch this live, because there's going to be spoilers immediately."
oh sure, but the only thing that makes this shocking is that it's the opening scene of the season. That is the only thing. The fact that they held this back, and I don't know if they shot it when they were shooting, that scene in season 3, and they just held it. I don't know, whatever. But
that is ballsy if they've sat on this for that long.
But like, because they've just cut it and put it at the start of this season as the opener, it feels way more shocking because they killed Angela in the first scene of a season. What? Right?
Yeah.
That is the only thing that makes it. I mean, it would have been tragic. It's still been a really good scene and shocking.
But it's more shocking at the start of a season than it is at the end, because at the end, stakes are high, things are going bad. You expect often a death in TV shows. Not, depend on the TV show, obviously, but
and if
it's a natural place to have it.
And if you thought season 1, with Shayna, the neighbor, Shayla, it was Shayla.
Okay.
If you thought her death was hard hitting at the time, because it was, like, that was a really well done moment in season 1. Angela's death is like way more devastating. Holy shit!
This was next level. Just and the idea that it's just out of focus. It's in the background. We're on Philip the whole time, and he's just determined not to look back at it.
Yeah, it's almost like her anger's passed on to him, and that's going to be his driving force, for the season. But yeah. So here's for something that's never happened before happens. Mr. Robot, as in Christian Slater, Mr. Robot starts talking to us. He starts talking to us.
Elliot hasn't spoken to us all episode.
No, he hasn't. No, he says he's not talking to you. In fact, one of his lines later that I did note down is, "He's keeping you away, but I'll let you in." And he makes it very clear. Mr. Robot doesn't like us. Doesn't like us. The friend. He doesn't like us. But he thinks Elliot needs us. He thinks that we need you, and we need a friend. That's what you are, right? That's the end of the whole narration speech. Is that we need a friend, and that's what you are, right?
It's a genuine question, though. It's like, right? Yeah. He's not sure.
And even at one point it says, and that's why you're back, right? As if like, yeah, we've been gone for a while because the TV show's not been
on. You missed those 2 months, but you're back now because the interesting stuff's going on, right?
So, but no, he's worried about him. He doesn't like us, but he's worried about Elliot, so he wants our help. And I think it's a really interesting, because it's much like how season 3 kind of shook things up by having Angela work with Mr. Robot behind Elliot's back. You've got this other thing here where now we have Mr. Robot trying to work with us. Not necessarily behind Elliot's back. It's more of a intervention kind of thing, but
yeah, cause I don't think Elliot's necessarily unaware of it. He probably could be if he wanted to be, because I mean, it's all him.
Well, it could be, but I don't think he is.
No, but it's not like it's being hidden from him. He's just not looking for it.
Oh, sure. But they get to the apartment, and Elliot's ignoring all the signs. Although I should mention the cereal eating receptionist.
He's not eating cereal just yet, is he?
Yeah, it's nice. Starts eating cereal. What you're thinking is that when we come back to him, when the bad guys are coming, he puts on some music. So he's still eating the cereal, but he's listening to music. He's listening to "Be Happy."
Yeah.
But yeah, he's eating the cereal already. He pours it at the start of the scene. But they're in the apartment, and Elliot is ignoring all the warning signs because
it's so like obvious immediately.
Because Mr. Robot, even before they get in the apartment, Mr. Robot says this is the quietest building in New York. There's something iffy about this, and Elliot's just not listening. He doesn't care. He's like, "No, we're here. We got lucky. He's not here. We can search the place." And there's dust on everything. And there's price
a photo
tags
frame with still the stock picture. From
the shop.
Yeah.
There's price tags dangling from the lamps and stuff.
And it's like, this is so clear. Get the hell out of there right now.
So sure enough, they get grabbed, and we get Be Happy playing as he's dragged out the building. We cut to Dom for her next big scene. They're at dinner with Dom's mum, and Dom's mum should like try to set her up with someone from her church or something like that. This other woman. What I really liked about the filmmaking here is that you actually have Dom's mum completely center frame. Her shot, whenever it cuts to her, because she's in the middle of the table, is completely center. She's really intrusive. And
it's actually quite interesting. It's like the camera is sat on the opposite seat, like
kind
at the other
of,
end of the table.
Yeah. But it was coming between the other two, Dom and this other person. But there's a moment where it crosses the line, where it crosses to the other side of Dom and her mum. And the moment that it happens is when Dom's mum is making an excuse. She's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to go to bed. Hey, Dom, why don't you help I'll call her Susie. I don't remember her name.
I
Why
think it
don't you
was
help
like Janice or something like that.
Janice? Yeah. Why don't you help her with taking out the leftovers to her car? And once she says that, it crosses the line in the film, in the line of sight between them to the opposite side. As Dom looks at her and goes, "It's only macaroni." It's basically her questioning, like, why are you? That's weird. Like, it's almost like it's showing that her detective brain's just kicked in because she's like, why are you asking me to do that? That is weird. And obviously, we get, if we didn't get it already, it's clearly spelled out when they get outside that her mum was trying to set her up.
Yeah, it's kind of clear throughout the meal because they're like, "Hey, that was an attractive nun or whatever it was, whoever she was, I can't remember." And she's like, "Isn't that right, Janice?" And kind of like, "Hey, similar interests." She's trying to make it very clear to Dom.
Yeah, they get outside and she's like, "Hey, sorry, my mum was trying to set us up," and the other woman's like, "Oh, I think she got the wrong idea," implying she's not even gay. She's like, "Oh, I didn't even like. This is weird." But like, and she's like, "Oh, your mother said you had troubles and you've been drinking." I was like, "Oh, has she now?" Talking a bit too much. But it sounds
there's a great funny moment in this bit as well where there's a big, like a tiger or something in the car.
Yeah, it's like a stuffed tiger. Yeah.
Yeah, and Dom's a little bit shocked at first, just on seeing it there. And she's, "Oh, no, I'm a taxidermist." She's, "Oh, were you stuffed animals as a kid?" She just looks at her really blank and goes, "No."
No, not really. Yeah.
I proper chuckled at that.
So, yeah, but of course, as she's walking back to the house, the woman says, "Yeah, you have to get some sleep. You've got that interview tomorrow about Santiago's case." And filmmaking moment I love here, because this is the moment you realize, Dom's been paranoid. She's been looking for, who's White Rose sending. It turns out this woman's the one been sent by the Dark Army. But what I love in the filmmaking here is that when she says that, Dom's, walked halfway back to the house. The camera's behind her, and it kind of like goes in, and it's really low angle. It's looking up at her. And what it does here, it's not so much the move that it does this. It's a nice move. Don't get me wrong. But what's telling the story here, or adding to the scene, and what she's basically happening here, is that it perfectly frames her house. And it's not her house, which is notable. It's her mother's house covered in Christmas decorations. It's her mother's family home where she feels safe. She retreated here after everything that happened. And this is where, even though she's not necessarily like the best friends with her mother, like this is her home life. This is like, comfort where the home is. It's covered in Christmas decorations, the most, family comfortable time of the year, jolly, good times, blah, blah. And the camera's just angled enough in the right way that it's completely framing Dom as she's just really turned around and realized that this is the person who's here.
That realization, that look of horror on her face.
And obviously she does directly threaten her mother in a minute, but like this visual is telling you this is what's being threatened right here.
Yeah,
because this is where
it's very clear immediately.
Yeah, she said, if you don't, because she says, "Oh, it's getting kind of suspicious. You've been putting off this interview for a while, talking about what happened with Santiago last season," and she said, "If you don't, I'll have to do something awful." And she says, "Obviously, we've been used to Mr. Robot dropping F-bombs for a while. There was a straight-up C-bomb in this scene."
Yes, I will slit her mouth to see.
Yes, and she smiles really happily as she says it. And then, this is a creepy woman. She gets very creepy in this scene as she's leaving.
Immediately, because she was just nice and bubbly,
It makes it clear that
switches.
It makes it clear if she kills her, if Dom kills her, there'll be more coming. And Dom's looking up and down the street like looking for.
And it's that sheer fanaticism as well. It's like, sure, kill me, I don't care. There'll be someone else.
Which is in line with Dark Army. This whole we'll kill ourselves before we're questioned kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely,
yeah. So there was a scene at what turned out to be Angela's house. I didn't recognize it straight away because it's been covered in photos. And
I recognized it immediately because of one of the first lines in it is, "Who would live in a place like this?" And you see all the black walls.
Sure, yeah.
The black paint. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that.
But Darlene's living here, and she's kind of breaking down. And the lighting here was very specific. It was a lot of darks, almost silhouettes at times with Darlene against the harsh light. And she freaks out because people are in Angela's room, and she demands they all leave. But we see she's a wreck. She's taking lots of drugs. She's not really even thinking about it. But after she kicks everyone out, the camera sort of focuses on the ballet slippers on the floor. And it's like, because that was their connection. The first time we ever learned that they even knew each other was at this like ballet class or whatever it was they went to. Because that was a big moment in the season. I was like, well, these two know each other? What's going on here?
It was weird, right? At that time.
It was a big deal. And Darlene just cries on the bed. It's just this heartbreaking moment.
Which is and it's why Elliot's not showing her the photo, because he's like, no, this might break her even more.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, maybe there's an argument to say it would help to put an end to, because she's not convinced that she's dead, so she can't cope with that. Maybe, as horrible as it would be to see it, maybe it would help her process and actually grieve.
Absolutely. So Elliot's been, obviously we saw him get nabbed by the bad guys. These Dark Army dudes. Kind of. I'll get to why the kind of in a minute, but they're in Elliot's house, and I noted actually here that this was the second scene in the episode that we got a bird's eye shot inside Elliot's apartment. It happened earlier on when he was with Darlene, and it kind of felt like any time, like it was trying to say that like someone's in over their head, maybe Elliot specifically in this case, where he thinks he's fighting back, but he's being too reckless. It's going to this bird's eye shot. I think it's notable because I really noticed it this time because it was when he's about to be murdered essentially, and the last time it was when he was kind of like walking up to Darlene and a couple of bits in that scene. I just thought it was interesting that it happened twice and they were both in the same room essentially. There was a very specific stylistic choice there, but Sam Esmail's in this scene. And it was this thing where obviously at first you don't see his face. He's sort of like he's preparing the drugs because they're going to overdose him basically, and he's preparing the drugs. And the only thing that gets his attention when Elliot's like screaming various things to sort of get him to stop is that Elliot does say the name of the bank. Like I know White Rose's bank.
Which is what I think is interesting is is Elliot's assumption right? He refers to the bank as their heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this whole show has been it's this big anti-capitalist agenda. Right, and money is the root of all evil has been a large part of the show. Is he right? We're taking it at face value, but White Rose has been unhinged, should we say? Is money really the heart of everything, or can she manage and do put her plans in another way?
Yeah, but you didn't get that from the guy's reaction, though, right?
No. Earlier on, the guy's reaction, he paused because it was information he definitely didn't think Elliot had or should know. I got more earlier when Elliot kind of came to that conclusion, and we kind of skipped over when he spoke about that earlier. So
yeah, well, for me, like the moment here where like Esmail reacts to, because this is Esmail, when I saw him, is ties into kind of what happens at the end of this scene, so I'll kind of save it for that. But so they kill him, and they do like a great fake out here where he falls down. They all leave the room. He falls down. He's trying to get to the phone, but he's shaking. He can't do it. We get like essentially his life flashing before his eyes from previous episodes. And the music is really sad. It's really well done, and it comes up saying directed by Sam Esmail. Now
he sees a moment. He sees a moment of his family as well. Like hallucinates a moment.
Yes, and it comes up saying directed by Sam Esmail, which answers
what the hell?
Which answers the question. He did direct this episode, you fool. But it comes up saying directed by Sam Esmail, and then it cuts back to him. No, they deliberately fake you out thinking, because for a second I was like, well, they killed Angela in the opening scene, like. Could they somehow have a final season where Elliot's actually killed at the end of episode 1 just to be the ballsiest move they could ever do?
I was like, what the hell's going on for 3 or 4, which is probably why I didn't register that it said directed by Esmail, because I was going, what the hell?
I was almost for a split second, I'm like, is this going to be just Darlene, Dom, and Price?
I want to give this show so much credit for the fact that even for 3 seconds we believed that it was possible.
Yeah, I didn't. I when I said earlier on that I was expecting a swerve with Angela. In this moment with Elliot, I definitely expected a swerve. But like you say, for a split second, I thought, is Sam Esmail crazy enough to do this? I believed that it was possible for a second.
And how many shows could you think of that you would even contemplate that?
None. None, really. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was still pretty sure that there was going to be a swerve, and it's an immediate swerve because,
I thought, it'll be at the start of next episode.
The fake out, of course, the director's credit comes up, but then it goes away, and we go back to Elliot, and they give him a sniffer thingamajig to, bring him back, counteract. Yeah. And obviously, it's these same 3 guys, Esmail and the 2 goons, and then in walks Price and says, "Welcome back, Mr. Alderson." Yeah. But so I like the fake out, obviously, right? I like what they're playing with that. So here's my theory here on what's going on. Here's my theory. Now, whether or not it was planned before, or it only became a plan once he mentioned the bank, right? Is that technically this is Dark Army, but this is subdivision. This is like working under Price. That Price is in charge of these goons, right? Clearly.
Yeah.
I think Price wants to fight White Rose, and I think he wanted proof that Elliot was dead, so it had to look real. So we don't see them take a photo or anything like that.
But there's probably cameras in the room.
Yeah, I think he wants White Rose to think Elliot is dead, and they come back in and resuscitate him, because I think he wants to use Elliot, team up, whatever you want to call it. I think he wants to take war to White Rose, and
yeah,
I think the reason for this is much going back to the first scene is I think the inspiration of Angela's death and his drive this season is to actually fight back, for better or worse.
Yeah, I suspect the bank doesn't necessarily change the plan. I don't think it did. I think Price probably was like, hey, if there's anyone that can do it, it's Elliot anyway, right? He's been the thorn in the side for so long.
Yeah, the reason I say that because when Esmail reacted to that moment, and we can't gloss over the goodbye friend.
Oh no, I honestly thought they were saving that for the last episode.
Yeah, well, what I like about it is obviously it's a great moment because it's really selling that he might be about to die, right? Because goodbye friend, but the meta-ness of this, because it's Sam Esmail himself saying goodbye friend, is freaking insane. The fact that the creator of the show is saying goodbye friend to his character is absurd, which I think is probably why he gave himself this part. That's probably the point of it.
Just for shits and giggles of how meta it is.
I don't know how much more of him we're going to get, but here he was. But yeah, I think Price clearly wants to work with Elliot, and very lately wants to convince White Rose that he's dead, which is where, when we go back to talking about could Angela somehow be a swerve, like if he's doing this with Elliot, is it completely out the realm of possibility that somehow, even though it didn't look like it, I admit the opening scene, it does not look like, it looks like he's genuinely mortified by what's happening, it looks like a real killing,
and there's the photo that Elliot gets sent as well.
Yeah, but photos can be doctored.
They can be doctored, yeah.
Right.
I assume he'd have done his research on it though.
But I'm just saying, it does raise the question: if that's what he does here in the final scene with Elliot, if he is capable of doing this and he has that idea, and is it possible that he technically already did it with Angela?
I think yes, it's possible. I'm not going to rule it out.
Right.
I think it's significantly less likely due to the method and his reactions. We spoke about reaction already, and the method being the gunshot. This here. The reason why I think it was the plan all along and not just when the bank came up is because I don't think this drug necessarily fully killed him, because he came back so easily. It wasn't like a full resuscitation. It was it was quite a simple method counteracting the drug that they put into his system.
Yeah, they gave him something specifically they could remedy quickly.
Yes, not just something to kill him.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's my assumption anyway.
No, that's fair. I'm intrigued by this. I'm intrigued by the idea of Price wanting to fight back, and even though he still may not never be a good per se character, and I don't know if I necessarily want to call it a redemption per se, but at least a redemption in the sense that he wants to fight for Angela. He wants to fight for that, and because we care about Angela, we can get behind him. We can get behind him because we care about why he cares about it.
And I think it's interesting because we've seen how unwilling he is to fight for himself, repeatedly. So the fact that he is willing to fight for Angela,
I think that's pretty true to life. Actually, I think there's a lot of people who won't stick up for themselves, but if you threaten someone they care about, like they will.
Yeah.
Like it's like a different part of their brain. Like they can't quite do it for themselves, but they'll do it for someone else to care about.
Yeah, no, I get that. But I think it makes him, if this is the route we're going, I think it makes him a tiny bit more likable. That hey, he was willing to let himself get walked all over, but when it came to his daughter, there was a line that was crossed.
And Joe, I like about this as well is that I don't remember like disliking the fact that was he was her father like at the end of the last season when that was revealed. In fact, I think I even spoke about it before as a possibility. I remember
I remember us going over it, especially in the episode where we saw them as kids.
Yeah, I think I seem to recall rubbing it in your face. I think I thought of it first. not, and I'm not trying to rub it in now. I'm just I vaguely remember rubbing it in your face.
I mean, I honestly cannot remember the specificity of that conversation, but that sounds like something you would remember.
Yeah, for anyone who just watched the season 3 reviews, which are worth. See, season 2 ones were shaky. I don't think we quite hit our groove yet, but season 3's reviews I'm quite proud of. Go back and watch season 3 reviews. Go see if I was rubbing that in his face at some point at the end of the season.
And if he was it because I actually disagreed with him at some point over it, or was it just because he was like, "Well, I got it first"?
I hope you fought me. I hope you said, no, it's not. It's prices the way his prices are for father. That'll be goofy. I hope you.
I might. Do you know what? It sounds like something I might have said. I'm not gonna lie.
But I think all this stuff, I don't know. I don't remember exactly how I felt at the reveal, but all of this stuff, I think, is giving it weight that makes it all worth the reveal.
I agree.
So,
if I wasn't on board at the time for whatever reason, because I'm not confident enough to say I was on board. I am now with some time and the way it's played here.
Yeah, we've had 2 years between seasons to get used to
Which
the
is
idea.
why I'm not entirely confident on what I said.
Oh god. No, I really like it. And obviously we still have the mystery of what is this thing, this device, this shipment thing.
Yeah. We know she's building something in the Congo.
Yeah.
But...
well, it's not in the Congo yet. It's going to the Congo.
But that's what it's going to, yeah.
I am obviously intrigued. I am so happy to have Mr. Robot back. It's going to be a wild 12 weeks.
You know what? I felt really bad after I watched this episode because not 3 days ago at work, someone was watching, TV show, and they went, "Oh, how do you feel about it?" I went, "Oh, I can't remember what the show was, but I was just like, I don't think it's that good." And we go on then. What are your favorite shows? And I forgot Mr. Robot, and I feel ashamed that I forgot to say Mr. Robot because at this point I'm assuming it's going to stick the landing because I have no reason to doubt Esmail. And at that point, yeah, I'm pretty confident saying it's going to be one of my favorite shows of all time. So yeah, I feel bad for forgetting it like 3 days ago.
Yeah, Mr. Robot's back, and it's off to a very good start. Like I say, I think it's not quite the knockout the park that the season 3 opener was, but the opening and closing scenes were like
it is, and just
next level.
The direction throughout is like nothing else on TV, and even in like the more mundane scenes, that by comparison, it's still there. It's ever present, and it's excellent, and it's always just.
I talk about camera moves and camera cuts and tricks in this show a lot more than I do any other TV show.
In some movies.
In some movies, yeah. Like the cinematography is constantly telling me things in the visuals that are either new information or enhancing what's been said in the scene, and that's very impressive. And it's part of why Mr. Robot's such a good show. But there you go. That is episode 1 of season 4, Unauthorized. So do obviously let us know what you think of the episode in the comments. You can like and subscribe, ding that bell to make sure you get the notifications. You can, of course, rate the audio podcast, the Almost Cancelled Audio Feed podcast, on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars if you like what we do and want to support us and have it recommended to more people. You can support us, of course, financially. You can go over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month, and you get access to bonus stuff, deleted tangents, and things like that. And you can, just get a bunch of stuff. But that helps support the content and keep everything coming. So go do that if you feel like it. And otherwise, you'll get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Goodbye, friend.